Bet on Bears fans, another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Chris Bleck, Pat the designer in the building, a Friday episode. Bleck, what's going on, my guy?
Pat, what's up? I'm ready for week 3 in the NFL, and let's see if the Bears can get back on the winning track. I feel like there's a huge opportunity in front of them this week, and if we have hopefully a great quarterback in the making, he should outplay the other guy this week. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Anthony Richardson is not good as 2 weeks have gone by, to say the least. Yep. But the problem that Caleb Williams has trying to outplay him is the offensive line for the Chicago Bears is not good right now. But they did get a little bit of good news yesterday. We heard yesterday, based on the injury report, Kiran Amegadjie, a full go for the Chicago Bears, the Bears' third-round pick from this season, back in the mix. Chris, with what we have seen from this offensive line, I know Ryan Poles said we don't expect him to compete for the left tackle position this year. Probably not going to be a big factor this season. How quickly do we got to get this kid in there?
Well, it adds to the depth, and ideally, he impresses everyone and he can work his way into the lineup.
Braxton Jones, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one concern heading into last week was the offensive line, and it proved out to be correct for a concern, right? Like, we saw it on national TV. They got their ass kicked.
Yeah.
And it was essentially all 5 across the line. No one had a good game. Darnell Wright had a couple of spots where he was worried and he was jumping off, and
Daniil had him a little scared.
Yeah, and then there's a couple clips online where he's just getting crossed over. He left a jock on the field type situations, and his quarterback almost got killed.
Yeah.
So I think when we look at Amegadjie, it's clearly a depth situation right now. If you ask me this question at the end of October, and he continues to be healthy and is practicing, and we see this same type of play from Nate Davis and Tevin Jenkins and whatever else happens with the 5 up front, I would say, yeah, he probably needs to be in there. If you were going to spend a draft pick like that on a player, you expect him to play at some point. The depth piece is nice for right now, but I don't see it being a situation this Sunday. I would be surprised actually if he's active.
Yeah.
Because he practiced last week. It wasn't a full week of practice, but he was inactive for the game. And I think that makes a lot of sense based on the fact that he hasn't been available.
I agree with you. I understand that he hasn't been available. But the thing that I keep hearing people say is, well, this guy hasn't had an offseason. He hasn't had a training camp. Mm-hmm. He's not going to get that till next year.
No.
So you're right now in a tough position. I don't think that he plays this week, but I do think that a ramp-up period has to start for him, because you know that you want him to be a long-term piece. You spent a third-round pick on this guy, and you have no other options to improve this offensive line, which is the scariest part of all this. Now, I don't think Kiran's coming in and he's going to be a right guard. I don't know if you put him in at left guard, maybe move Tevin to the other side, or you throw him in there at left tackle if you're not happy with Braxton Jones. They seem to always be happy with Braxton Jones no matter what. But the concern right now for me with this Bears offensive line is Ryan Poles let basically every pitch go by. He just watched it go by. Didn't take a swing at Connor Williams. Didn't take a swing at offensive line early in this draft. Didn't try to get back in the second round to address the offensive line. And so we're heading into a situation where we're hoping that a backup right guard gets healthy and surprises us and turns into a starting right guard, which I don't know if you watched much of that first week, Chris, but he looked like a backup right guard.
Yeah, he did. And I think that's what is a tough spot for Bears fans to kind of look at what Ryan Poles did this offseason. So many things that we were all positive on. Yeah. But if you asked anyone, you, me, anyone who hosts on ESPN 1000, we had essentially 3 major needs this offseason. You had to upgrade the quarterback position.
Yep.
I believe he did that. You had to find someone opposite Montez Sweat to get after the quarterback. It kind of feels like through 2 weeks,
what Taylor kind of that guy for you?
What they've assembled is getting the job done enough.
Yeah.
They're not dominating yet up front, but I feel like they've gotten enough pressure. I'm not worried.
It doesn't feel like last season where it was like, wow, you can't get anything to the quarterback.
And in bright red letters, it was fix the offensive line and fix the center position and make sure this group was ready to go to protect a rookie quarterback. I think at this moment, if we had to grade Ryan Poles on that alone, most fans would give him a D or less.
Yeah.
Because, entering 2 weeks, it is clearly the glaring hole on this team. And that glaring hole may or may not ruin your quarterback this season. I don't think it'll ruin Caleb Williams long term, but the worst possible situation that we could face this season is not missing the playoffs. It's not, winning close games, but your offense doesn't look great. The worst possible thing that could happen is the offensive line gets him hurt in a severe situation where he's out for the season.
Yeah.
And then we have to delay whether or not the figuring out development or just the excitement of watching a young player play in his rookie season. That would be the worst thing. And that's where I think at this moment, we have to give him a D-, an F. I mean, who he brought in hasn't stepped up, and who has been here has played poorly.
Yeah.
All across the board. Braxton Jones, even though you said they seem to really like everything he does.
No matter what. I don't get it.
He had false start last week.
Yeah.
Darnell Wright looked good last year. False starts on Sunday. Nate Davis has looked terrible. So, Coleman Shelton hasn't looked good either. All across the line. Tevin Jenkins in a contract year playing poorly. They've all looked bad. And so, to me, it goes back to the GM who used to be an offensive lineman. Explain that one to me, Bears fans. Right? Like, it was the glaring hole this offseason. Fix the offensive line.
Yeah.
And to this point, it seems like he didn't fix it, and that's the weakest part of the team.
I don't know if you saw me losing my mind after the game and that clip that went viral. But at the end of it, I said, stop drafting guys that play like you.
Yeah.
To, kind of about Ryan Poles. And it feels like he's drafted that guy 2 years in a row here. Darnell Wright, top 10 pick, right? I need to see more out of you. But this year, you go out and get the guy from Yale, who's the yes, he has these accolades and stuff, but let's not pretend like Yale is Alabama or Georgia.
It's
you know what I mean?
The SEC.
It's nowhere near.
Yeah.
And maybe he does develop and he proves to be one of the best guys, but you're taking a chance on a guy when there were guys who were clear-cut starters in the NFL at the top of this draft, and you didn't take a chance there. I think even with Braxton Jones, right? You take a chance in the 5th round. Braxton has exceeded well over what a 5th round pick should do. Yeah. He is for sure maybe not the best, but probably going to end up being a 10-year minimum starting left tackle in the NFL. Even if we get rid of him, he goes to another team, he will still start on that team. That does not mean you can't upgrade that position. And my problem with what I've seen from Ryan Poles is with the offensive line, it's not even like you're taking swings at fixing it. It's just, I fully believe they came into the season thinking Justin Fields holds the ball way too long, and that's why the offensive line is bad. And if we're going to be honest about this, we'll just get a quarterback that gets rid of the ball quicker, and it won't matter. Caleb Williams, top 10, and getting the ball out. He's 8th in the NFL right now. He was 6th in the NFL last week. 2.5 seconds. That's the magical number that everybody screams out. Tom Brady, 2.5 seconds. That's when you got to get the ball out or the sack's on you. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
He got sacked 7 times.
Yeah. Well, okay. So to this point, I think this is where their logic works if they run the football like they did last year. They were the number 1 run team last season, and that was primarily because their quarterback couldn't throw, so they schemed up to be a running team to then mitigate Justin having to stand back there and make those quick decisions, which he can't. Let's be honest. If you're a Bears fan, you're in the chat, you're leaving comments that Justin Fields is fixed now. Best of luck to y'all. Let's see how it plays out, because he can run a few nice games. He can play well. He can make some throws. Eventually, you'll see exactly what he is. But this is not a Fields conversation.
Listen. As Bears fans coming off of last week, we need to thank the Pittsburgh offensive line because he would have had a really good stat line if not for them.
But this is what this is what I mean, Pat. If they run the football like they did last year, I think they have a point. The problem is the run game. They haven't gone to it enough in the first game against Tennessee. They tried to go to it against the Texans. I don't understand this concept where they keep running side to side. I mean, run straight forward. They had one nice straightforward run at the start of the third quarter, and I think they chewed up 8 yards, and DeAndre Swift wasn't touched until like 6 yards downfield. And it was like, boom, that's what you need to do. And they didn't go back to it. I've had a problem this entire training camp, preseason, and start of the season with the lack of usage of Khalil Herbert. The dude runs forward and he runs hard every time. Give him the ball. If it's the Hall of Fame game, if it's any game last season, the dude runs hard. Why are we only giving him 2 carries per game? And you drafted Roschon Johnson to be a tough-nosed back. You're not even using him. Yeah. So I feel as if
the running game is the most important thing this week.
If they focus the offensive game plan with let's get the run game moving forward first, I do think some of the concerns with the pass and the pass protection kind of start to melt away, because I think Caleb is good enough to play off of a good run game as a rookie, make quick decisions, and boom, now things are moving. Yeah. The problem was we kind of discussed it already. It was the mental mistakes, the false starts, the penalties from the offensive line, plus these weird side-to-side swift handoff plays that don't work.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I feel as if Shane Waldron and the offense, they need to focus in on what they do well first. You have this whole playbook. You spend all off season and in training camp perfecting all of these different plays, all these different options. Look at all the weapons. How is Caleb going to get everyone involved? Blank that. Let's do what works, stick to it until there's a change on the defense, and then play off of that. Because that level of success will then allow guys like your second, your third wide receiver to become open. It will allow DJ Moore to have a little bit more room when he makes his cut, whatever he's doing on the outside. And I think that, to me, is the most disappointing part, is that they had a good run game last year. Why, through 2 weeks, have we gone to this side-to-side jet sweep, east-west run game, when last year running the football straight forward down the barrel, Tevin Jenkins moved people. He mauled people last year. And it seems as if we're not allowing the offensive line to do what they do best at the moment, and they're really looking bad in doing what they're being asked to do.
I think the biggest difference is, and you mentioned it, while Justin Fields as a passer was not a great passer, everybody on the defensive side of the ball was going, it doesn't matter what anyone else over there is doing, he can't run.
Right.
Not having that dude, like it's like remember like when we'd watch the Bulls, like Derrick Rose Bulls, and you're like, oh man, we got a team, here we go. And then Derrick Rose is out, and you're like, hey, a lot of y'all can't play as well as we thought you could. Yeah, because now no one's focusing on Derrick Rose.
It was all the Thibodeau All-Stars.
Yeah, exactly.
All the guys were running for 36 minutes a night and running into the ground, but Derrick's the one that made everything work. I think without that there, you can focus in and go, oh, you're not as good as you guys thought you were. Justin Fields just was our focal point. Yeah, I just hesitate in suggesting that, like, no doubt, Justin Fields is a far better runner than Caleb Williams. 100%. Which we're okay with. Let Caleb be a better passer. Yeah, for sure. But Caleb can move. Yes, he can. He's not immobile. Yes, he can. And if he 44 yards last week. If he sees a situation where he steps back and realizes linebackers have gone with a tight end, they've gone with a running back in the flat, and it just opens up, he can run. You know, when he hurt his hamstring, I believe it was the Sugar Bowl against Tulane. That was like a 60-yard scamper that he pulled up lame on. But like in that game, he was running the football a lot. You know, people always talk about his poor game last year against Notre Dame on the road. If you go back the year before when USC hosted Notre Dame at the Coliseum, Caleb didn't throw for touchdowns. He ran for 3 touchdowns. All 3 of them came within the red zone, though. Yeah. And I think that's where we really haven't seen Caleb's true ability to use his legs, because I think that's something that totally translates to the next level. People are concerned about Richardson this weekend. Caleb in the red zone can run, and he's smart running the football. And I think that's where, yes, defenses don't have to plan for Caleb the same way they had to Justin, but we also are not focusing on running the football first and foremost.
I agree with that.
And that's bothersome heading into week 3 for me.
Let me ask you this, because the offensive line has been the ire of everyone's hate for 3 weeks. Rightfully so, right? They are bad. There's no doubt about it. There's some problems. But is the offensive line masking what is also a problem with possibly another play caller here in Chicago when you look at Shane Waldron? Because the things that Shane Waldron was knocked on coming from Seattle was unbalanced run pass, not realizing when to use what personnel, not realizing when to run the football on short distances, not running forward, and always trying to get the deep shots downfield, not always using, the short game to your advantage. We are 2 weeks into this season. And for the offensive line, to me, the reason I can kill you is because I've been complaining about this for 17 games. Whether you like Justin or not, they didn't protect him. Heck, we can go back further than that. Whether you liked Mitch or not, they didn't protect him. We've been complaining about offensive line this entire time. The complaints that we have right now, scheme-wise, are the complaints that came with Shane Waldron from Seattle. Is the offensive line being bad, taking people's focus off of the fact that your play caller has had some plays that you kind of scratch your head at?
Some of the formations, especially in week 1, were highly questionable.
The tight end screen.
Yeah, right. And also the Gerald Everett playing twice as much as Cole Kmet situation. That changed in week 2. I would say my answer to you would be no, because I think there's plays on the field. There hasn't been execution. I know throughout the week, we see online all the people who clip up all the different plays from the All-22. And I think there's one that...
Shout out to I'm Bearing Down. That's my favorite one.
There's one specifically that I think was... that stuck out in my mind all week. And it was a play where Caleb had to leave the pocket early and scamper and run to the left side, and he ran out of bounds. And I believe that was a play that should have been called for a late hit, because he was a step inside the white, and he got a shoulder to his shoulder, and he fell down. I don't know why Bears quarterbacks seem to be allergic to getting late contact penalties from the officials, but apparently
personal fouls.
It's not just Justin. It goes to Caleb, whoever it is.
Roshan Johnson's taking shots out here. He can't get any love on the sideline.
Here's why I'm not ready to say Shane Waldron doesn't work and it's not the right offense. On that play, Caleb diagnoses what's happening with the defense, and he goes up to the line and he sets the protection, and he tells Nate Davis and Braxton Jones, and he tells Coleman, he gives them exactly what they need to do. This guy's coming. Here we go. This middle line. Here's the middle linebacker.
Yeah.
He steps back, and I believe Travis Homer was in at running back, standing next to him in the shotgun. Homer standing there, apparently clueless, not paying attention to anything your rookie quarterback is doing.
Right.
So the play starts, and I believe it was Will Anderson who comes off the edge, and Homer takes a step inside towards the center, which has already been covered with the protection because Caleb called it out. And here comes Will Anderson around the edge, and Homer's a step late. So then Caleb had to duck down and then scamper out, and the whole play is blown up. That is player paying attention, not the play. Like, that's not Shane Waldron.
There are plays that are working.
Shane Waldron has a play there, and your rookie quarterback is diagnosing what's taking place.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is why I feel like we're in an outrage culture with sports where it's either the greatest or the worst. I don't know. I thought the Bears would be 1-1 after 2 weeks.
I did too, 100%.
I also have a saying that I need to trademark, and in the NFL, there are no sexy losses. Anytime a team loses in the NFL, it feels like the sky is falling and all hope is lost. It's rare that you play a great game with no mistakes and you lose.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in the NFL. We all know this. We watch all of these games. when teams lose, think about if you're a Cowboys fan this week, right? You're supposed to be a Super Bowl champion team. The San Francisco 49ers go on the road and they get outplayed by Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're all bad losses. And so I'm not as concerned because what I see is growth from a young quarterback who's in command of an offense and who's pointing out mentally the correct things are taking place. He needs to be better. He needs to be more accurate. He needs to make those throws when they're there. There was one that was down the sideline. He escaped the pocket to the left and he floated one to Carter.
Yeah,
and it went
Carter,
way over his
missed
head.
him by a lot.
Pat, that was a big gain. That was going to be a 30, 40-yard gain, if not a touchdown. Caleb has to hit those. In week 1, down the sideline, he missed Keenan Allen. That would have been a touchdown. There are plays to be made, and I think that's the difference. Shane Waldron is putting them in position to make the plays. There's just not the execution at the moment. And like that example I gave you, Travis Homer missed the assignment. Your young quarterback diagnosed the play correctly. That's not something we saw with Mitch and we saw with Justin. And I think that's why,
I agree with that.
Going back to the sexy losses thing, people can be upset that Caleb didn't play better last week. I think we all are. But there are things when you look back at the game and he is doing stuff that you don't really see rookie quarterbacks do.
Diagnosing protections.
There was a pass late where he missed DJ Moore down the right side, and DJ, it was right off of his fingertips. Okay, quarterback missed it. It also was a quarterback who stood tall in the pocket's collapsing, and he fired a bullet right on the spot. Some wide receivers come down with that.
Yeah.
You know this.
Yeah.
Some come down with that.
DJ
right?
would probably say that's on him.
That goes on the quarterback. Another one was the Rome Odunze play that ended the game on 4th down. Caleb made the right read. Rome ran the wrong route.
But see, I think
and the pass was on point.
Right. But I think that's my point, right? It's knowing personnel, it's understanding and adjusting. Rome Odunze is dealing with what injury right now?
Well, a knee injury, and he's also a rookie, and theoretically, he's supposed to be your 3.
He's supposed to be a 3, but even on that, if this team
play sucks, he would be your 1, right? If we were, name another team that's drafting in the top 10, he'd be, or the Giants, right? He'd be your number 1,
100%. But my point is, you have Rome Odunze running a comeback route off of an MCL injury. MCL injuries make things hard to cut side to side. Maybe let's not have the guy with the MCL injury running the comeback route there. For me, with the offensive line, Caleb calls out the protection. Travis Homer's in there to block. Hey, I don't know if you noticed about it, but I haven't. I don't remember those great Travis Homer keeping the quarterback alive moments out in Seattle. An unwillingness to change the personnel that you have in there. At some point, they're running 12, man. We got struggles protecting up front. I've got Mercedes Lewis and Roshan Johnson on my team, who are literally 2 of the best positional blockers in the NFL from last season, and we don't want to utilize those guys on the offense. That's where my concern comes in with Shane Waldron early, because not only are you doing a lot of the things that we saw in Seattle that people were kind of with that irritated Pete Carroll and why people were kind of like, we're not that mad that he's gone. But you're also doing the things where you're just not adjusting to how the game is going. I mean, Caleb Williams has dropped back to pass 66 times already in 2 games. That means that you're putting it all on his shoulders. You know what that's going to do to a quarterback who went to USC, didn't have an offensive line that was all put on his shoulders? At the end of the game, he's going to try to make the big play. At the end of the game, he's got Rome Odunze underneath, but he's like, we're down 9. We got to make a play. I got to figure this out. Tries to float a deep one over to Cole Kmet. That has to be a perfect pass. It's there. I want him to make the pass. I don't want him to coach that out of him.
Yeah.
Because that pass is there if he plays like he's at USC. But this ain't USC. It's the NFL.
What did you make of Eberflus after the game, Monday, throughout the week, putting the interception thrown to DJ Moore on DJ Moore and not Caleb? Because Eberflus, if you missed it, Eberflus said that a 50-50 ball like that is the wide receiver's responsibility to break it up or come down with it.
Well, I think see Monday, because I asked him about that Monday, and he said, we don't want to throw 50-50 balls. We want to throw 100% balls, which great coach speak there, Flus. But basically put it in a spot where only DJ can get it. I think that DJ even put the onus on himself where he says, he's like, I slipped, but I can't let that ball get into the DB's hands. I have to become the DB, knock that football down. But to me, at least on Monday, I don't know if he's changed it since then, but Caleb Williams basically threw that football to the DB in that situation.
Yeah, it was
like it was nowhere near DJ Moore.
A little higher for it to be one of those 50-50 balls. I also think that that's where they missed Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's a bigger body.
Yeah.
And he's also someone that's a safety valve for a quarterback, whoever he's played with, whether it was whoever with the Chargers, and even now, that dude always gets in the right position that when the ball's near him, he's either making the catch or he's fighting off the DB to not have it turn into an interception. So, I mean, Shane Waldron should get some of the criticism this week. But I don't think they're that far off.
No, I broke it down. I said, if we're pie charting this thing, what is it, 50, 30, 20? That's what I said yesterday. 50% offensive line. Because I maybe all the people who were calling me crazy for saying we need an O-line and not just a faster release quarterback last year, now they see that the O-line's important. I'd say 50% O-line. I'd say 30 Waldren, because you got options you can put in there to help block, and he just doesn't, at least through 2 weeks. Maybe we see that more this season. And I say 20% on Caleb, because I do believe this. Coming into this week with this Colts team here, the reason we lost in Houston is because of the 2 turnovers.
Yeah. Anywhere in the pie chart for Eberflus? I think he enjoys some pie. I think Eberflus
would like yours.
I think Eberflus would like some pie with that, because my God, those are 2 of the worst challenges I've ever seen from a head football coach.
Here's the tough part. Here's the tough part, right?
Lord, that was bad.
The second one, the first one was horrible. I don't know who called that down, but
you can't do that.
That person would be fired immediately.
You even got the assistance because you were playing on turf.
Yeah.
Where you got the black little pebbles flying up.
No, it
was so obvious.
The first one, I don't know who the guy is in the booth now calling that down. He should be fired today. Like, that was horrible. The second one, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Kyler Gordon commented on it. No, he did. He went over and said, you got to challenge it.
Yeah.
I got it. But Kyler Gordon commented on it. He said the ref came up to him after, and he said, if we had called that an interception on the field, we wouldn't have overturned it.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that, though. The ball, just from all of the football that we all watched all weekend long.
To me, it clearly hit the ground.
Whenever the ball is in contact with the ground and there's movement, they always say that that's an incompletion. And it happened twice on that play.
Yeah.
So he can say that. I also think get ready to play the next down, because if they didn't challenge that, Houston was going to get a big gain, because
they weren't ready. They were so
Kyler was throwing a tantrum in the middle of the football field. Dude, you got to play.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. You can tell them, hey, throw it, but you were wrong. Get in there and get ready to play. Because at that moment, the Texans' offense was rolling.
Yeah. What's your prediction for this upcoming week? Will Flus win more challenges this upcoming week?
Dear Lord. I mean, like, I'll help. If he needs assistance, I can phone a friend.
I mean, listen, we're basically going back in time here. We're playing the Colts. We're playing a 4-3, 42 nickel style defense here. We got a little Lovie Smith going on action with the challenges. Yeah, I mean, not a lot of wins.
So I think the Bears do focus on the run. They'll pass off of the run game. Caleb will look much better. I think the Bears win a tight game late. The defense makes life tough for Anthony Richardson. So I think the Bears win. They get to 2-1. But I think it's a tight ball game, like a field goal or so late.
Will the offense look better?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's that far off. I think if they can get some level of a run game, I think that will make life so much easier for the quarterback, and the quarterback's making the right decisions early. So I think that's the way it plays out.
I tell you what, if we can't run against this Colts team, we riot.
Next week, remember how I talked about sexy losses? No, there'll be problems next week. If they look bad against the Colts offensively, disregard that. We will have problems.
Hey, we appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Chris has a show to do, so we got to let him go, man. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bleck, appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you.
For Chris Bleck, it's your boy Pat, the designer. Bear down, one love. Peace.